The Krell fleet had been slowly advancing for 2 hours. They had destroyed one human ship and damaged several others. Overlord Vextar was beginning to think the battle was nearly won. The humans were retreating toward their planet. Soon they would have nowhere left to run. Maintain pressure, Vextar ordered. Don't let them regroup. Push them back to their world and destroy them there. The 10 remaining Krell battlecruisers moved forward in formation. They passed through the orbital zone where defensive satellites should have been, but the humans had never built proper defenses. Another sign of their weakness. Then Vextar noticed something odd. 3 human ships that had been badly damaged were drifting ahead. They appeared to be dead in space, their engines dark, their weapons silent. Easy targets. Focus fire on those crippled ships, Vextar commanded. Finish them. 6 Krell battlecruisers moved to surround the drifting human vessels. Their weapons powered up, ready to deliver killing blows. On the bridge of the Thunder, Captain Dalsoon watched the Krell approach. She was 60 years old and had been dead in space for 30 minutes. It was the longest 30 minutes of her life. Now finally it was time. All systems online, she whispered to her crew. Now! The Thunder's engines roared to life. So did the engines of the Resilience and the Vengeance. The 3 crippled ships had been playing dead, waiting for this moment. The Krell were suddenly surrounded. The 3 human ships fired everything they had at point-blank range. EMP torpedoes, railgun rounds, and missiles. The Krell shields absorbed some of it, but not all. Not at this distance. At the same moment, Taemin gave the order he had been holding. Activate the secondary mines. All of them. Throughout the orbital zone, hundreds of dormant mines came to life. They had been drifting in space, looking like debris. Now they moved on small thrusters, accelerating toward the nearest Krell ships. Vextar realized the trap too late. Evasive maneuvers. All ships, explosions erupted throughout his fleet. Mines detonated against shields and hulls. Not enough to destroy the massive battlecruisers, but enough to cause chaos. Enough to disrupt targeting systems and sensor arrays. Enough to blind and confuse. The Indomitable and the Defiant struck from above and below. Yijin had calculated the angles perfectly. Every Krell ship now had human vessels attacking from multiple directions simultaneously. Lieutenant Dongwu fired with methodical precision. He had been angry when the battle started. Now he was cold and focused. Each shot was aimed at specific weak points: shield generators, engine housings. Weapon ports. A Krell battlecruiser lost its shields and took a direct railgun hit to its main reactor. The ship's interior lit up with secondary explosions. Its hull buckled and cracked. Atmosphere vented into space along with debris and bodies. 3 Krell ships destroyed. 7 remained, but Vextar was adapting. He had underestimated the humans once. He wouldn't make that mistake again. All ships break formation, he ordered. Engage independently. Focus fire on one human ship at a time. Ignore the mines. They're not strong enough to destroy us. The Krell fleet split up, abandoning coalition battle protocols completely. If the humans wanted to fight without rules, then the Krell would do the same. 3 Krell battlecruisers concentrated their fire on the Vengeance. The human ship tried to evade, but it was already damaged from earlier fighting. Energy beams cut through its weakened shields. The ship's hull melted under the intense heat. Explosions tore through multiple decks. Vengeance is breaking apart, Yijin reported, her voice tight. Taemin watched helplessly as the Vengeance died. More lives lost. More friends gone. But he couldn't stop to grieve. Not yet. Defiant Thunder with me, he ordered. We're going after their flagship. Sang-Woo's voice came through the communication. Understood. Let's kill their commander. The 3 human ships converged on Vextar's battlecruiser. The Krell overlord saw them coming and smiled with his reptilian mouth. So the human captain wants to face me directly. How honorable, and how foolish. His ship was the largest and most powerful in the Krell fleet. Its shields were double strength. Its weapons could fire in all directions simultaneously. Vextar had survived 20 battles in this ship, but he had never fought humans before. The Indomitable came in fast and low, skimming just above the effective range of the battlecruiser's lower weapons. Dongwu fired EMP torpedoes at the shield generators. The shields flickered but held. The Defiant attacked from the opposite angle, firing railgun rounds at the engines. The Krell ship's armor was thick, but railguns hit hard. Dents appeared in the armored plating. Warning alarms sounded throughout the Krell vessel. The Thunder positioned itself directly in front of the battlecruiser's main weapons. It was a suicide position. The Krell weapons powered up, ready to obliterate the small human ship. Captain Dalsoon had timed everything perfectly. "Eject the core," she ordered. Her engineer stared at her. "Captain, if we eject the reactor core, we'll be dead in space." "I know, do it now." The Thunder ejected its reactor core. The glowing sphere of contained energy tumbled through space directly toward the Krell battlecruiser. Vextar's weapons officer saw it coming and tried to destroy it with point defense fire. He succeeded. The reactor core exploded just 50 meters from the Krell ship's hull. The explosion was like a miniature star. It overwhelmed the Krell shields completely and burned through armor plating. The battlecruiser's forward section melted. Secondary explosions rippled through the ship as systems overloaded and ammunition cooked off. Vextar's bridge filled with smoke and sparks. Half his crew was dead or dying. "Damage report!" "Shields gone. Forward weapons destroyed. Hull breaches on every deck. We're losing life support." The Krell overlord stared at the tactical display in disbelief. How had these primitive humans done this to him? His pride had blinded him. His arrogance had cost him the battle. "Retreat," he ordered bitterly. "Signal all ships. We're withdrawing." The remaining 6 Krell battlecruisers began to pull back. They were damaged, their formations broken, their confidence shattered. They had expected an easy victory. Instead, they had been bloodied by an enemy they had underestimated. But Tai Min wasn't ready to let them go. "Pursue," he ordered coldly. Yi Jin turned to look at him. "Captain, our orders were to defend New Jeju. We've done that. The Krell are retreating. They came here to take our home. They killed our people. And you want to let them leave?" Taemin's voice was hard. "No, they don't get to attack us and just walk away. We're going to show them what happens when you threaten humanity." Dongwu grinned. "Now we're talking." Dr. Jiwon's voice came through the communication from Medical Bay. "Captain, we have hundreds of wounded. We need to recover escape pods from the destroyed ships. We need to—" "I know, Doctor." "And we will. But first, we're going to finish this." The 3 remaining human ships, battered and bleeding but still fighting, pursued the retreating Krell fleet. Behind them, New Jeju remained safe. The colonists had survived. The planet was still human, but the battle wasn't over. In his damaged battlecruiser, Vextar watched the humans pursue him. Fear touched his heart for the first time in his military career. These humans weren't just defending their territory, they were hunting him. Throughout the Galactic Coalition, observers watched the incredible scene. A junior species, barely a century in space, was pursuing one of the galaxy's most powerful military forces. Ambassador Thulmar clicked his mandibles nervously. "This is unprecedented. The humans should accept their victory and tend to their wounded. Why are they pursuing?" Grand Admiral Zekrin understood. His avian species had once been warriors too, before the Coalition had tamed them. Because they're sending a message. They're telling the galaxy that humanity is not prey. Not anymore. On the Indomitable, Taemin stared at the fleeing Krell ships with cold determination. He thought about the Valiant and the Vengeance. About the 400 humans who had died defending their home. About the colonists who would have nightmares for years about the day aliens tried to take their world. The Krell had started this fight thinking humans were weak. Now they would learn the truth. When you attack humanity, there's no safe retreat. There's no easy escape, there's only the chase, and humans were very, very good at hunting. The chase lasted for 6 hours across 2 star systems. The damaged Krell battlecruisers tried everything to escape. They separated and fled in different directions. They sent distress calls. They begged for mercy. The humans didn't stop. One by one, the Krell ships fell. The Thunder, running on backup power and emergency life support, caught a battlecruiser trying to hide in an asteroid field. Captain Dalsoon fired their last functional weapons and crippled the Krell ship's engines. Then she rammed it. Both ships were destroyed, but Dalsoon and most of her crew escaped in pods first. The Resilience hunted down 2 more Krell battlecruisers. Its captain, a quiet woman named Bora, had lost her son on the Valiant. She fought with the cold efficiency of someone who had nothing left to lose. Both Krell ships burned under her weapons fire. Commander Sang-woo on the Defiant caught another battlecruiser and destroyed it with a series of precision strikes that would have impressed any Coalition tactician. Except Sang-woo wasn't following Coalition tactics. He was using strategies from Earth's old wars. Brutal, effective, final. Now only 3 Krell battlecruisers remained, including Vextar's damaged flagship. The Indomitable pursued them through hyperspace and back into normal space near a red dwarf star. Overlord Vextar was desperate. His ship was falling apart. Systems were failing throughout the vessel. Half his crew was dead. The other half was terrified. The mighty Krell Dominion was being destroyed by primitive humans who refused to follow proper military protocols. He opened a communication channel. "Human captain, please. Enough blood has been spilled. Let us negotiate an end to this." Tamian considered the request. On his bridge, the crew looked exhausted. They had been fighting for 8 hours straight. The Indomitable had damage on every deck. Fires were still being extinguished. The life support was barely functioning. Commander Heejin stepped close to him and spoke quietly. "Captain, we've won. New Jeju is safe. We've destroyed 9 Krell battlecruisers. We've proven our point. Maybe it's time to accept their surrender." Dr. G1's voice came through the communication. "Captain, I have 53 wounded crew members. 7 are critical and need immediate surgery. We need to stop fighting and start healing." Lieutenant Dongwu disagreed. "They came to take our home. They killed our people. If we let them go now, others will think they can try the same thing." Taman closed his eyes and thought, what was the right choice? Revenge or mercy? Justice or compassion? He was so tired. The weight of command felt like it was crushing him. He opened the communication channel. "Overlord Vextar, I'm prepared to accept your surrender. Under the following terms." Vextar felt a surge of hope. "Yes, what terms?" "You will confess to war crimes against humanity. You will pay reparations to the families of those who died. You will disarm your remaining ships completely, and you will return to the Krell Dominion in shame, so all your people know what happens when they threaten humans." There was a long silence. Then Vextar's voice came back, filled with rage. "Never. The Krell do not surrender to inferior species. We do not confess to crimes when we were simply claiming what should be ours by right of strength. Then you leave me no choice." Taman felt something cold settle in his chest. He had offered mercy. Vextar had refused it. What happened next was not his fault. He had to believe that. He had to. "Lieutenant Dongwu, fire all remaining weapons." Dongwu didn't hesitate. He had been waiting for this order. The Indomitable's railguns fired. Its missiles launched. Every weapon that still functioned unleashed hell on the Krell flagship. Vextar's shields had been gone for hours. The armor was already cracked and melted. Now the human weapons tore through what remained. Explosions rippled across the massive ship from bow to stern. On the Krell bridge, Vextar had time for one final thought. How had it come to this? How had his fleet of 12 battlecruisers been destroyed by 6 inferior human ships? The answer came to him as fire consumed his vessel. The humans hadn't fought like the Coalition. They had fought like they were fighting for survival. Because they were. The flagship exploded in a ball of fire that lit up the dark space around the red dwarf. Debris scattered in all directions. The other 2 Krell battlecruisers, seeing their commander die, immediately powered down their weapons and transmitted surrender signals. The battle was over. Taman sat in his captain's chair and felt nothing. Not triumph. Not relief. Just emptiness. Around him, his crew cheered. They had won. They had defended their home against overwhelming odds. They were heroes, but Taman only saw the cost. The Valiant destroyed. The Vengeance gone. The Thunder sacrificed. Thousands of humans dead. And he had just killed Vextar when he could have let him retreat. Was that justice? Or was it murder? He didn't know anymore. "Captain?" Heejin's voice was gentle. "We need to secure the surrendering Krell ships and begin rescue operations." Taman nodded slowly. "Yes, do it. And get those escape pods. Every single one. I want every survivor recovered." Over the next 12 hours, human ships collected escape pods from the destroyed vessels. Survivors from the Valiant, the Vengeance, and the Thunder. Even Krell survivors, though there weren't many. The Indomitable's brig was filled with alien prisoners who stared at their human captors with something new in their eyes. Fear. Respect. The news of the battle spread across the galaxy at light speed. A human fleet had destroyed a Krell armada. The junior species, the primitives, the newcomers had won a victory that should have been impossible. In the Galactic Coalition chambers, there was chaos. Some species were frightened. If humans could defeat the Krell, what else could they do? Others saw opportunity. Perhaps humanity had been underestimated. Perhaps they should be treated as equals after all. Ambassador Thulmar called an emergency session. Grand Admiral Zekrin presented his analysis of the battle to shocked council members. The humans had used tactics that violated a dozen coalition military treaties. They had fought dirty, aggressively, and without honor, and they had won. 3 weeks later, a formal delegation arrived at New Jeju. Ambassador Thulmar himself led it. He stood before President Su Jin of the Human Worlds and made a speech that was broadcast across the galaxy. The Galactic Coalition extends its formal apology to humanity. We failed in our duty to protect a member species. We underestimated your capabilities and your determination. This was wrong. As of today, humanity is granted full voting rights in the Coalition Council. 3 human colonies that were promised to the Krell are returned to human control, and we formally recognize the Battle of New Jeju as a legitimate defensive action. It was everything humanity had wanted. Respect, equality, recognition, but it came too late and cost too much. Captain Timon, promoted to Admiral now, stood at the back of the ceremony. He wore his dress uniform with 3 new medals on his chest. Around him, other survivors of the battle watched the speeches and celebrations. None of them smiled. They had won, but they had also lost something. Maybe their innocence. Maybe their hope that the galaxy was a civilized place where rules mattered. Or maybe they had just lost too many friends. Dr. Jiwan found Timon after the ceremony. "So we're heroes now," she said quietly. "We have medals and speeches and respect. Was it worth it?" Timon looked at her. She had bags under her eyes from weeks of treating the wounded. Her hands still shook sometimes from the surgeries she had performed in emergency conditions. "I don't know," he admitted. "We saved New Jeju. We proved that humanity can't be pushed around. But we also showed the galaxy something darker. We showed them that when humans fight, we fight to win. No mercy, no honor, just survival. Do you regret it?" Timon thought about that question for a long time. He thought about the children playing in New Jeju's streets who would have been slaves if he hadn't fought. He thought about the colonists who still had their homes. And he thought about the 400 humans who died defending it all. "No," he finally said, "I don't regret defending our people. But I regret that it was necessary. I regret that the galaxy forced us to become this." Across the galaxy, a new phrase was spreading. It was whispered in bars and military academies, repeated in council chambers and starship bridges, a warning that would echo for generations. When a human warship approaches, brace yourself. Because when humans fight, they fight like nothing else will survive. It was respect. It was fear. It was the price of victory, and humanity would carry that reputation forever. The Krell battlecruisers were massive. Each one was twice the size of the Indomitable. Their dark hulls were covered in weapon ports and shield emitters. They moved through space in perfect formation, exactly as coalition military doctrine required. On the flagship's bridge, Overlord Vextar watched the scanning displays with satisfaction. The Krell were a reptilian species, tall and powerful with scales that shimmered green and gold. Vextar was their military commander, and he had fought in dozens of battles. All of them had been easy victories. "Report," he ordered. His tactical officer, a younger Krell named Thexal, checked the sensors. "We detect 6 human vessels. All are old models. Some appear to be civilian ships hastily armed. No significant military presence," Vextar hissed with amusement. "The human state of fight? How primitive. How foolish." He opened a communication channel. "Human vessels, this is Overlord Vextar of the Krell Dominion. You have one final chance to surrender. Leave this system immediately and we will let you live." On the Indomitable, Timon listened to the message. His crew watched him, waiting for his response. He thought about the colonists below, the families hiding in tunnels, the elderly who refused to abandon their homes, the children who had only known New Jeju as home. He activated the communication system. "Overlord Vexatar, this is Captain Timon of the human warship Indomitable. I have a message for you. Humanity doesn't surrender. If you want New Jeju, come and take it." Vextar's eyes narrowed. The arrogance of these humans was unbelievable. "Very well. You have chosen death. My fleet will destroy you, and then we will take the planet. Perhaps we will let some of your people live as slaves. They need to learn respect." The communication ended. Vextar turned to his fleet. "Forward formation. Maintain coalition battle protocols. Destroy the human ships. The 12 Krell battlecruisers advanced in 3 neat lines of 4 ships each. It was beautiful and orderly, exactly how civilized species fought wars. Then the first battlecruiser crossed an invisible line in space. 6 mines detonated simultaneously around it. The Krell shields flared bright blue as they absorbed the explosions. The shields held, but the ship's sensors showed strange readings. Energy drains. System fluctuations, what was that? Vextar demanded. Mines, sir, Thexall reported, his voice confused. But they're not showing up on our sensors. They're scattered randomly throughout the system, not in a defensive pattern. Impossible. The Coalition band... Vextar stopped. He realized his mistake. These weren't Coalition weapons. These were human weapons. Weapons from before humanity had been civilized. All ships activate maximum sensor range, he ordered. Scan for any anomalies, but it was too late. The human ships had stopped playing dead. Their engines flared to life. But they didn't charge forward like they should have. Instead, they scattered in 6 different directions. What are they doing? Thexall asked. That's not proper battle formation. Vextar felt the first touch of concern. They're not following Coalition protocols. The Indomitable accelerated hard to starboard, moving at angles that made no tactical sense according to Coalition doctrine. The Defiant went the opposite direction. The other 4 ships spread out in a wide circle around the Krell fleet. He-Jin was coordinating the attack from her station. All ships remember the pattern. Hit and run. Never stay in one place. Never give them a clear target. The first human attack came from 3 directions at once. The Indomitable fired a spread of modified missiles at the nearest Krell battlecruiser. At the same moment, the Thunder and Vengeance attacked from opposite angles. The Krell battlecruiser's shields activated, preparing to absorb the incoming fire. The missiles struck the shields and exploded. But these weren't normal explosions. They were electromagnetic pulses. The blue glow of the Krell shields flickered. Then died, shields down, the Krell captain screamed. How? What kind of weapons are... His question was cut off as railgun rounds from the Defiant tore through his unprotected hull. The battlecruiser's armor held against the first impacts, but not the second or third. Explosions rippled across its surface. The ship began to list, bleeding atmosphere and debris. Vextar watched in shock. Those weapons should not work against our shields. They're EMP devices, sir, Thexall reported. From Earth's pre-Coalition era, our shields are designed to stop modern Coalition weapons. They're not calibrated for primitive technology. Recalibrate them. Now, but recalibrating shields took time, and the humans weren't giving them time. The 6 human ships weren't fighting like a unified fleet. They were fighting like a pack of wolves. Each ship moved independently, striking from unexpected angles and then retreating before the Krell could return fire. When the Krell tried to target one ship, 2 others would attack from behind. Lieutenant Dongwu was grinning as he fired the Indomitable's weapons. This wasn't the clean, orderly combat he had been trained for. This was chaos, and he loved it. Multiple hits on target 3, he reported. Their shields are failing. Break off and find a new target, Taemin ordered. Don't let them predict our pattern. The Indomitable spun away, accelerating at angles that strained its structural integrity. Behind them, another mine detonated near a Krell battlecruiser. The explosion wasn't strong enough to damage the ship, but it forced the Krell to alter course, breaking their formation. Commander Sang-Woo on the Defiant saw the opportunity. His ship was old and slow, but he had been fighting battles for 30 years. He knew when to strike. All power to engines, he ordered. Ramming speed. His crew looked at him in shock. Sir, if we ram them, we're not ramming them. Trust me. The Defiant accelerated directly toward a Krell battlecruiser. The Krell captain saw the attack and laughed. The human is going to ram us? What a pathetic final. At the last moment, the Defiant fired its maneuvering thrusters and spun sideways. Its cargo bay doors opened. Inside were modified cargo containers filled with explosives. The Defiant released them all at point-blank range and then boosted away at maximum acceleration. The containers impacted the Krell battlecruiser's hull 3 seconds later. The explosion was massive. It tore through the ship's armor and detonated ammunition storage. The Krell battlecruiser broke apart in a ball of fire. 1 down, Sang-Woo reported calmly. 11 to go. Across Coalition space, observers watched the battle in disbelief. Ambassador Thulmar of the insectoid species stared at the tactical display with his compound eyes wide. This is barbaric. The humans are fighting like savages. Grand Admiral Zekrin of the avian species watched with a different expression. Respect. No, he said quietly. They're fighting like survivors. This is how they conquered their own planet. This is what they were before we made them civilized. Another Krell battle cruiser took critical damage and began to drift. Its engines were destroyed, its weapons offline. The Resilience moved in and finished it with a barrage of railgun fire. 2 Krell ships destroyed. 10 remained, but the human ships were taking damage too. The Valiant's shields failed completely when 3 Krell ships focused fire on it. Energy beams tore through its armor. Explosions rippled across its hull. Valiant is hit, Hyojin reported. Multiple hull breaches. They're venting atmosphere. Taemin's hands clenched. Can they retreat? Negative. Engines are gone. On the Valiant, the captain gave his final orders. All hands abandon ship. Get to the escape pods. Go, go, go. The crew evacuated while the Krell closed in for the kill. The Valiant drifted helplessly as escape pods launched in all directions. The human ships tried to provide covering fire, but they couldn't stop what came next. 3 Krell battlecruisers fired simultaneously. The Valiant exploded. 250 humans died in that instant. Dr. Jiwon watched the medical displays as the life signs from the Valiant went dark. Tears ran down her face. She had friends on that ship. People she had treated for injuries and illnesses, all gone. Down in engineering, Eunji kept working even as the ship shook from weapons impacts. Shields at 40%, she reported. Hull breaches on deck 7 through 12. We're holding together, but barely. Taemin forced himself to stay calm. They had destroyed 2 Krell ships and lost one of their own. That was actually better than he had expected. But the battle wasn't over. All ships pattern Gamma, he ordered. Time to spring the trap. The 5 remaining human ships had been slowly pushing the Krell fleet toward New Jeju. The Krell thought they were winning. They thought the humans were being forced back. They were wrong. Vextar was about to learn that humans had been setting traps since the Stone Age, and some lessons were never forgotten. 36 hours before the Krell fleet would arrive, 5 old warships dropped out of hyperspace near New Jeju. They were scarred and patched, their paint faded from years of service. But their engines ran strong and their weapons still worked. Captain Taemin watched them approach on his main screen. The Defiant led the formation. Its captain, Commander Sang-woo, was 51 years old and missing his left arm from an old battle. He had lost it fighting pirates before the Coalition told humanity that such aggressive tactics were not acceptable. Indomitable, this is Sang-woo on the Defiant. We got your message. Looks like you need some help teaching these lizards a lesson. Taemin smiled. It was the first time he had smiled in days. Good to see you, old friend. Glad you could make it, wouldn't miss it. Besides, my wife was getting tired of me sitting around the house. One by one, the other ships checked in. The Valiant, the Resilience, the Thunder, and the Vengeance. Each one commanded by a veteran who remembered how to fight without Coalition rules. Yijin pulled up tactical displays. 6 ships total against 12 Krell battlecruisers. The odds are still terrible. Then we don't fight fair, Taemin said. He activated the ship-wide communication system. All hands, this is the captain. In 30 hours, the Krell will arrive expecting an easy victory. They think humans are weak because we follow Coalition rules. They think we've forgotten how to really fight. Let's remind them why Earth survived so many wars. Throughout the ship, crew members cheered. Down in engineering, Lieutenant Yoonji was already working on something special. She was only 24 years old, but brilliant. Right now, she was studying old Earth military databases that the Coalition had made humans seal away. Dr. Young-soo joined her. He was a civilian scientist who had lived on New Jeju for 15 years. Before that, he had designed weapons for Earth's military. Nasty, effective weapons that the Coalition called uncivilized. I found something interesting, Young-soo said, pulling up schematics on a screen. Before we joined the Coalition, humans used electromagnetic pulse weapons. They shut down enemy electronics without destroying the ship. Yoonji's eyes widened. The Krell shields are designed to stop Coalition energy weapons and kinetic rounds. But EMP is different. Their shields might not block it. Exactly. And I know how to build them. We just need parts. How many can we make in 36 hours? Young-soo did quick calculations. With all 6 ships working together? Maybe 200 EMP torpedoes. Not enough to win the battle alone, but enough to make a difference. Yunji contacted the other ships. Within minutes, every engineering bay was working on the project. They stripped parts from non-essential systems. They modified torpedo casings. They worked without sleep, fueled by coffee and determination. On the bridge, Hee-jin was planning something else. She had pulled up star charts of the new Jeju system and was marking positions. "What are you thinking?" Taemin asked. "Mines," Hee-jin said. "The Coalition banned them as barbaric. But that just means nobody uses them anymore. The Krell won't be expecting them. We don't have mines. We don't have Coalition standard mines. But we can make something else." She showed him her plan. "We take our oldest missiles, pull out the guidance systems, and set them to detonate on proximity. Then we scatter them throughout the system in unpredictable patterns." Taemin studied her plan. Coalition battles followed predictable patterns. Ships formed up in neat lines and exchanged fire until one side retreated. Minefields were placed in obvious defensive positions. Everything was orderly and civilized. Hee-jin's plan was chaos. Mines scattered randomly, some programmed to wait hours before activating, others set to drift on unpredictable courses. The Krell would have no idea where the danger was. "Do it," Taemin ordered. For the next 24 hours, small shuttles flew throughout the new Jeju system. They dropped hundreds of modified missiles. From a distance, they looked like space debris. Up close, they were deadly surprises. Down on New Jeju, Corporal Minho was organizing the colonists who had stayed behind. He was 31 years old and had been a Marine before retiring to farm on the colony. Now he was a soldier again. "Listen up," he told the crowd of civilians. "The Krell might try to land troops. If they do, we're not going to make it easy for them." An elderly woman raised her hand. "We're farmers and shopkeepers." "How can we fight trained soldiers?" Minho smiled grimly. "You fight smart. You know this land better than they do. You know which roads are usable and which ones flood. You know where to hide and where to set up ambushes. The Krell are used to fighting in space and on Coalition worlds. They've never fought angry humans defending their homes." He showed them how to make simple traps, how to disable vehicles, how to disappear and reappear somewhere else. It was guerrilla warfare, the kind that humanity had perfected over thousands of years of conflicts. Dr. Jiwon set up underground medical facilities in the colony's old mining tunnels. She didn't like what was happening, but she understood it. If shooting started, people would be hurt. She needed to be ready to save them. "I hate this," she told Taemin during a communication call. "I became a doctor to save lives, not to prepare for battle." "I know," Taemin said quietly. "I don't like it either. But the Krell gave us a choice. Surrender our home or fight for it. We chose to fight. Will we win? I don't know. But we'll make them pay for every meter they take." Back in space, the 6 human ships ran practice drills. But these weren't Coalition standard maneuvers. They practiced hit-and-run tactics, feints and ambushes, unpredictable movements that would confuse enemy targeting systems. Commander Sang-woo brought knowledge from Earth's old corporate wars. Back then, companies had fought over resources using private military forces. The battles had been brutal and creative. The Coalition had ended all that, forcing corporations to resolve disputes peacefully. But Sang-woo remembered the lessons. He taught the other captains how to coordinate attacks from multiple angles, how to fake retreats and then strike from unexpected directions, how to make the enemy think they were winning right up until the moment they lost. Lieutenant Dong-woo supervised weapons modifications on every ship. Missiles were reprogrammed with new attack patterns. Point defense systems were adjusted to fire more aggressively. Even the Indomitable's railguns were modified to fire in ways that violated Coalition weapons treaties. "If we survive this, we're probably going to be court-martialed," Dong-woo said to Hee-jin. "If we survive this, I'll consider that a victory," she replied. With 12 hours to go, Taemin called a meeting of all 6 ship captains via hologram. They appeared on the Indomitable's bridge as flickering images. "Thank you all for coming," Taemin said. "I know what I'm asking. This isn't a sanctioned Coalition operation. If things go wrong, Command will disavow us. We'll be called pirates or renegades. Our pensions will be revoked. We might face prison." Sang-woo laughed. "Prison sounds boring. I'd rather die fighting." The other captains nodded agreement. They were all veterans. They had all seen the galaxy's disrespect for humanity. Now they had a chance to change that perception. "Here's the plan," Taemin said, pulling up tactical displays. "The Krell will enter the system expecting a standard Coalition battle. We're going to show them something different, something human. He explained the strategy, the mines, the EMP torpedoes, the hit-and-run attacks, the fake retreats, everything that the Coalition had banned as uncivilized warfare. We're not going to beat them in a fair fight, Taemin concluded. So we're not going to fight fair. We're going to fight smart. We're going to fight mean. We're going to fight like humans. 6 hours before the Krell arrived, the human fleet went dark. All unnecessary systems shut down. They drifted in space like dead metal, waiting in silence. On New Jeju, colonists painted old Earth symbols on their bunkers, flags and emblems from humanity's warrior past. The Coalition had asked humans to forget such primitive symbols. Tonight, the colonists remembered them with pride. In the medical bay, Ji-won organized her supplies one last time. Bandages, antibiotics, surgical tools. Everything she would need to put broken bodies back together. She prayed she wouldn't need any of it. On the bridge, Taemin sat in his captain's chair and waited. Hee-jin stood beside him. Dongwoo was at weapons. The entire crew was at battle stations. The countdown reached 0. Space rippled. 12 massive Krell battlecruisers dropped out of hyperspace. The battle for New Jeju was about to begin. The stars looked peaceful through the viewport of the Indomitable. Captain Taemin stood with his hands behind his back, watching the distant planet of New Jeju rotate slowly. It was a beautiful world with blue oceans and green continents. 200,000 humans called it home. They had built cities there, farms and schools. Children were being born on that planet who had never seen Earth. Now all of that was about to end. Commander Hee-jin walked onto the bridge carrying a data pad. Her face was tight with anger. She stopped beside Taemin and handed him the device without a word. He read the message quickly. His jaw clenched. The Krell Dominion was demanding that humanity surrender New Jeju within 48 hours. If humans refused, the Krell would take it by force. The message was simple and brutal. It treated humans like children who needed to learn their place. Taemin looked at Hee-jin. She was 38 years old and had been his first officer for 6 years. He trusted her completely. Right now, her dark eyes burned with frustration. What did the Galactic Coalition say? He asked quietly. Hee-jin's expression grew even darker. They said it's an internal matter. They won't intervene. Taemin felt cold anger settle in his chest. The Coalition was supposed to protect all member species. Humanity had joined 80 years ago. They had followed every rule, paid every fee, and sent representatives to every boring meeting. And now when they needed help, the Coalition turned its back. Internal matter, Taemin repeated slowly. We're members of the Coalition. How is this internal? Because we're human, said Lieutenant Dongwoo from the weapons station. The young officer was 29 and had a hot temper. They don't see us as equals. They never have, Taemin wanted to argue, but he couldn't. Dongwoo was right. At council meetings, human representatives were often ignored. Other species called humanity the newcomers or the young Heo, ones with barely hidden contempt. Some aliens made it clear they thought humans were primitive and aggressive. Maybe they were right about the aggressive part. Earth had been through terrible wars before humanity reached the stars. Nuclear weapons, bioweapons, and conflicts that killed millions. When humans finally achieved faster-than-light travel, they found a galaxy already divided into territories and alliances. The Galactic Coalition had agreed to let humanity join, but only if humans followed strict rules about warfare. No mines. No ambush tactics. No dirty fighting. All conflicts had to follow Coalition military protocols. Humanity had agreed because they wanted to be part of galactic civilization. Now Taemin was beginning to think that had been a mistake. Get me Admiral Kyung-soo, Taemin ordered. The communication officer worked quickly. Within seconds, the image of Admiral Kyung-soo appeared on the main screen. He was 67 years old with gray hair and a face marked by decades of service. Right now, he looked exhausted. Captain Taemin, the Admiral said. His voice sounded hollow. I assume you've received the Krell ultimatum. Yes, sir. I've also heard the Coalition's response, or lack of one. Kyung-soo nodded slowly. I just came from an emergency council session. I presented our case for 3 hours. I showed them evidence that New Jeju is legally human territory. I reminded them of their obligations under the Coalition Charter. And Ambassador Thulmar told me that humanity needs to understand galactic politics better. He said sometimes newer members have to make sacrifices for the greater good. The Admiral's voice was bitter. Then Grand Admiral Zekrin informed me that the Council has been negotiating with the Krell for months. They've agreed to give the Krell 3 human colonies in exchange for peace. Taemin felt like he'd been punched in the stomach. 3 colonies? They sold us out? They sold us out, Kyungsoo confirmed. New Jeju is just the first. They expect us to evacuate peacefully and let the Krell take what they want. Yejin stepped closer to the screen. Admiral, what are your orders? Kyungsoo was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was different, harder. Your official orders are to evacuate all civilians from New Jeju and retreat to safe distance. Do not engage the Krell fleet. Is that clear? Yes, sir, Taemin said carefully. Something in the Admiral's tone made him pay close attention. However, Kyungsoo continued, I am also initiating Protocol Omega. Captains have full discretion to interpret their orders as they see fit for the protection of human interests. Command will support any decisions made in good faith. Taemin understood immediately. Protocol Omega meant the Admiral was giving him permission to disobey if necessary. It was a way for Command to support aggressive action without officially ordering it. If things went wrong, Taemin would take the blame. If things went right, Kyungsoo would take the credit. I understand, sir. Good. Kyungsoo out. The screen went dark. Taemin turned to face his bridge crew. They were all watching him. Young faces, old faces, men and women who had served with him for years. They knew what Protocol Omega meant. Begin civilian evacuation, Taemin ordered. All transport ships are to start loading immediately. Priority to children, elderly, and medical cases. The crew jumped into action. Communication channels opened. Down on New Jeju, evacuation sirens began to wail. People would be confused and frightened. They had 48 hours to leave their homes. Dr. Jiwon entered the bridge. She was 45 years old and had been the Indomitable's chief medical officer for 10 years. She was a kind woman who believed in peaceful solutions. Captain, she said quietly, I need to know. Are we really abandoning New Jeju? Taemin looked at her. Jiwon had treated hundreds of wounded in various border conflicts. She had seen what weapons did to flesh and bone. She hated violence, but she was also practical. We're evacuating civilians, Taemin said. After that, we'll see. Jiwon studied his face. 50,000 people won't leave. The colony has many elderly who refuse to abandon their homes. There are also sick people who can't be moved safely. And then there are the stubborn ones who won't run from aliens. I know. So what will you do? Taemin turned back to the viewport. New Jeju looked so peaceful from up here. He thought about the farmers and teachers down there, the shopkeepers and engineers, the children playing in parks. All of them human, all of them under his protection. I'll do what I have to do, he said quietly. Heejin stepped up beside him. Captain, if we stay and fight, the Krell will destroy us. They're sending 12 battle cruisers. We have 1 ship. Then we'll need more ships, Taemin said. He turned to the communication officer. Send messages to the Defiant, the Valiant, the Resilience, the Thunder, and the Vengeance. Tell them their old captain is calling in some favors. Dongwoo grinned. Those ships were decommissioned 5 years ago. Decommissioned doesn't mean destroyed. Their captains are all retired veterans who know how humans used to fight. Before the Coalition taught us to be civilized. Taemin's voice was hard. Contact them. Tell them we have 48 hours to prepare. Tell them New Jeju needs them. The communication officer nodded and began working. Hyejin moved closer to Taemin and lowered her voice. The Krell fight by Coalition rules. Formal battle formations, predictable tactics. They'll expect us to do the same. Then we'll surprise them, Taemin said. Get me Lieutenant Yunji from engineering. And find Dr. Youngsoo down on New Jeju. He used to design weapons for the Earth military. Before the Coalition made us give up the effective ones. You're planning to fight dirty. I'm planning to win. Down on New Jeju, transport ships began lifting off. They carried crying children and frightened families. But tens of thousands remained behind, some because they couldn't leave, others because they refused to run. In orbit, the Indomitable waited. Alone for now, but not for long. Captain Taemin watched the stars and prepared for war. The Krell thought humans were weak. They thought the Coalition had tamed humanity's violent nature. They were about to learn how wrong they were.